Hey guys, my name is Ameen Altajer. I am the CEO of INFINITEWARE. We are an AI business. We've been around for some time. We are very happy to be part of this with the TG Hub, with Tarabut Gateway and Almaya Technologies. So yeah, come on in. So in this short video, I'm going to take you on a very short journey to understand the basic blocks of building a secure architecture, computing-wise. So no matter where you want to put your infrastructure, you always have to think about the number one thing that is completely important to you, which is the aspect of data. So even if you rely on infrastructure as a service model, or even platform as a service, or even software as a service, you have to really think about data as the most crucial component of your organization, be it profitable business or even non-profit. And there are plenty of ways to actually go ahead and make the most of your data security. But normally in the business, normally in the industry, what people do is that they have a rating system that they attach to their data. So you have data that is allowed to go public, for example, and you have another rating which says that this data is definitely not for public, that we have to really care about, keeping it within premise. And so with that idea, with that mindset, you can actually control the level of impact, the level of damage in case there's been, a sort of breach. Hopefully not, but in case there's something, you at least can contain it and you have the scope, with your focus. Now, the second thing that I want to talk about is the idea of encryption. Now, encryption is a very broad term. We use it everywhere, right? But there are two angles to look into the whole encryption aspect. So you've got encryption at rest, and we also have something that we call encryption in transit. And so the idea about encryption in transit is that when your data travels from one place to another, it gets encrypted along the way. So if a hacker comes in and they want to eavesdrop on the connection, they really want to pry into the connection and look into your data, they won't be able to, because the data is encrypted as it goes to the ultimate destination. So this is probably something you've seen. So when you see the green lock on the top left, this is what we call TLS, or mostly known as HTTPS, which is really, really cool and important in this modern era. The second aspect is the idea of encryption at rest, which basically means when you have data that is on the disk, it has to be also encrypted. So if you have a hacker coming in or somebody that has access to physically those machines, they won't be able to really break your data out because they're going to have a lot of difficult time trying to decrypt the data. Now, when you work with bigger organizations, you normally don't just deal with usernames and passwords. We have other types of credentials, notably client certificates, key pairs, private and public keys, and all of these things have to be managed really, really well, especially if you're dealing with a lot of users, a lot of infrastructure. And so the best way to deal with this is that you don't just scatter files around for private keys, public keys. You normally have to have a very, let's say, harsh policy when it comes to managing your keys. And one more thing that I want to talk about also, if you have the luxury to have access to a hardware security module, mostly known for HSMs, you gotta go for that. Because with an HSM, you can keep your keys really secure in a hardware place. And it's just magic. The hacker won't be able to come in. There's no way for the keys to go out. So yeah, just think about HSMs. Another aspect that we want to talk about is the idea of software. Now, as a software developer, I can really vouch for the idea of vetting software before you put it in your premises. Now, this is really important. Think about software as business logic that runs in your infrastructure. So you really want to be sure that everything that you put in your infrastructure is safe and vetted from anything that is nasty for the business and for your infrastructure. So what we normally do in the industry, we try to rely as much as possible on open source code so we can vet it and we can also get people to scrutinize the code base. But if you work with vendors, it might be a bit difficult. So in that case, you need to have a strict procedure, a strict policy to scrutinize whatever comes in from the vendor. Otherwise, you're going to be in big trouble down the line. So yeah, take care of that. Now, another aspect is network segregation. Think about networks as digital streets. So basically, your data travels around, all right, and it goes from one place to another. You really want to be sure that as the data travels, it doesn't go to the wrong place. And so for that, what we do normally, we have different environments for staging, different environments for production, different environments for quality assurance. And all of these environments, they're not attached to each other. So if there's a breach of some sort that happens in the development environment, it would not really impact production or quality assurance. And this is the right way of thinking about things. And not only that, if you have the chance to also implement this as rules within your firewalls, create VLANs and different technicalities that can limit those traffic bits to going from one place to another, you also have to try to go for such an option. So we keep hearing about this idea of IAM, which stands for Identity and Access Management, which is a very broad topic. But nonetheless, there are bits that I want to talk about. Normally when you have resources in an organization, be it servers, switches, routers, you have to really provision those appropriately, and you have to also monitor those. So you don't want to give the wrong people access to the resources that you have. So normally what we do is we rely on multiple methodologies. One of them is the idea of multi-factor authentication. So the idea behind multi-factor authentication is that you use multiple methods of authentication in order to provide the proof to a resource that, hey, I can log into that resource. A good example is when you log into your banking account and you get an SMS as well. So even though you know the password, you also get an SMS to prove that you own the device and you also know the password. And one more idea is we normally operate with the least privileges account, meaning if you only need that authorization, if you only need that rights to access that resource, we just give you that. We don't give you more than that. So you have to really think about the way you provision accesses to your resources and your employees in the organization. Now, when you have a live infrastructure, there are points that you have to put in order to make sure that everything is okay as you go down the road. The first thing that comes to my mind is the idea of firewalls. You have to make sure that you have the right controls to block traffic that should not go somewhere else. Other than that, you probably heard about intrusion detection systems and intrusion prevention systems that allow you to monitor the sort of traffic, the sort of shady traffic that comes to your organization. Also the idea of WAFs that are very popular lately. And one thing that I want to conclude with is the idea of logs. So if you can somehow centralize all the security logs to go to a certain place, that would be very helpful down the line. So you can track who has access to what has done what. So all of these things, they become a living being in your organization in order to make sure that everything is in sync and in line. I hope you really enjoyed this very short session. There's a lot to cover when it comes to these aspects of building a secure infrastructure, but nonetheless, if you want to reach out to me, go to my website, AmeenAltajer.com, or you can go and check out our products at INFINITEWARE.com. Thank you so much to all of you and have a good day.